Grandchildren, I'm sorry. I have 4 children, and I have 3 children who are adopted from foreign countries. Okay, 2 of those are Hispanic. I don't want that publicized because the children have not been notified that they are adopted. But the situation is the Hispanics are as dear to me as my blood children. And they're going to inherit any dime that I have left. So we're not racist. John McCain can call us racist, and he can call us rabble-rousers and bubbas and whatever he wants to. I'm an American, and I'll put my record up against John McCain. I wasn't fortunate enough to be captured at that time. But the situation was that I know John McCain, and he's a good man. And I admire him like nobody's business for what he underwent in prisoner of war camp. I am diametrically opposed to his political stance. Whether he's a Republican or Democrat, that individual stance is not ethical in my opinion, nor moral. Okay, now the second thing I'd like to say is that we also we're not bigots. You won't find a bigot in this room. We have our individual problems that have come on our side to show us what's happening that is not being transpired as far as intelligence to our elected officials. And I think they're misled. I am hoping that Senator Lincoln will come to us and say, I've been misled on this stuff, and I acted on lies that were fed to my staff. I hope that comes out, but nevertheless, it may not.
I want to say this. First of all, Senator Lincoln welcomes you here. She welcomes your comments, and that's what this is all about.
That's right.
Now.
Open dialogue.
You have a disagreement.
Yes,
I'm glad you came. She's glad you came. I'll make sure that she personally knows that you were here, and anytime,
if she can meet with us, that's right.
yeah, anytime you want to come individually or collectively, however you want to do it, we'll be happy to schedule that. If you'd like to have Senator Lincoln in Harrison, all you need to do is call me or send me an email. We'll put it on the schedule, and we'll try to find a time when we can work it out that she can be
I
there.
have a
One more question on there.
that you may.
This is about her vote. Will she vote to do something about, Bill Clinton's executive order that put translators in every school?
Mm-hmm.
They're discussing now doing away with that, and it has an opportunity to do away with it, and we want her to stand for English as the language.
There you go.
And not taxpayers paying for translation.
Parkland Hospital has been forced by lawsuits to come up with and require that Spanish is a required language for those overworked medical students.
And we want to stand for English as the language for America.
Yeah,
And Parkland Hospital had how many? Does anybody know how many thousands of illegal babies, anchor babies were? Yes, ma'am. Parkland Hospital, where Fairfield County.
Over 70% wasn't born this year.
I'm sorry?
Over 70% wasn't born this year.
70%.
Senator Lincoln travels to some of these third world countries like India and Africa, Niger, third world countries like that. Have you traveled to any of those kind of countries?
No, Senator Lincoln hasn't been to India, and I don't believe she's ever been to Niger.
None of the African countries that are real third world, or into Mexico where it's real third world, and to see.
She did, I think, 7 years ago. She took a trade trip and visited Cuba.
Cuba's top class compared to these other countries I'm talking about. I wish that she would travel, and you too, and get an insight of these countries like Niger.
You think they want to come to America?
Everybody wants to come to America. Visit the food markets. I lived in these countries, and we had to go out and shop on the local market. Do you know that here in the United States, that's what's coming?
That's exactly
We're
right.
having a third world country where they'll set open markets up. Your meat will not be under
And you think that's going to happen?
Yes, I definitely.
You're going to get real sick east out this little while.
In the Vietnamese villages when they came into Fort Arthur, Texas, there was no dogs and no cats within 1 week in the town.
They eat the dogs
They
and the
eat the
cats.
dogs and the cats. It's no different than squirrel. But the Vietnamese are basically business people, so they assimilated rather rapidly, except for the gangs. But now, right, in Washington D.C., I got sick when I went to the Vietnam Memorial, and the Vietnamese are out selling trinkets. And then they have 4 corners. They have a flag as big as this house, which is the Vietnamese flag, not the American. And a friend of mine who was a POW with McCain, Orson Swindle, he thinks the Vietnamese are great. And I told him, I said, well, Gordon, Orson, while you were a POW, we tried to get you out. And I said, if you will give me the same small loan, business loans, the same rights as the Vietnamese, I go to business too. He said, what do you mean? I said, I went and tried to do this. I had to stand in line in Texas behind the Vietnamese to talk to a Mexican to try to get a small business loan and wasn't even paying attention to it. I said, you don't know what to think. He said, I think about that. So think about it. And of course, all of us were educated. So we lived overseas for 15 years. Niger, Monrovia, Liberia, Turkey, China, Philippines.
You go down to a
Our
market
last
to
tour
buy
was
your
Cuba.
food. You don't go to a grocery store and you ask for beef and they'll say it's over there and you hear this bzzz and the man hits it and all the flies fly away. And that's
And
why
all-
he cuts your beef off.
all our houses-
And that's coming to America
all-
very, very soon. It's
all-
already in
If here.
All our
Exactly.
houses-
I know, not where she shopped, not where she shopped.
All the people that have money have walled courts. You'll notice that if you went to Cuba, you went out on the drive.
I've never been to
Oh, I'm sorry, she.
She has that.
Uh,
Cuba's good for me, a lot of
Right next door, you got a lady at 5 o'clock in the morning
pounding her
pounding
mouth.
her milk, and you have a guard. They have a pub. And in all Latino countries, all of them, they love the dictator. They love the machoism. If you're not born in a white family, you don't get an education. That goes for the Philippines, that goes for Mexico, that goes for El Salvador, that goes for all these
He
places.
talked about dictators. Right now, I feel like we're living under a dictatorship. George Bush is dictating what he wants. President Lincoln. Senator Lincoln is supporting him all the way.
And Kennedy.
Graham is supporting him all the way from South Carolina. Kennedy and McCain. We're under a dictatorship right now and don't really realize
Our
that
country's
we
going
are,
into
but we
anarchy if
voted
we
them
don't do
in.
something about it. Darn, we're going to have to move along. There's a lot of things here that people need to talk with you about. So may I ask you, could they come back after we make our next visit? To stop in and give you their individual stories?
Absolutely.
You need to hear Sharon's story, not Taylor, but story about how she was almost killed here and financially ruined over this accident by an illegal and what happened.
In Southwest
You
Florida.
desperately need to hear that. Now, along that line, before we move along, I need to introduce you to you. This nice young lady, and she is not 15 years old, but she's a wonderful lady. I told her, I said, I'll remember that name because I have an Elizabeth in my family, and I have another daughter who's married to a Ferguson. So this is Elizabeth Ferguson, and she represents, and she would like to present something to you, please, ma'am.
This is the grassfire.org petitions. There's 8,154 Arkansas tax-paying citizens that have signed this petition for no amnesty for illegals. And the people who've signed this believe that illegal immigrants are criminals. That's one thing that's not addressed. And that we also believe that the melting pot of America, melting means not changing the laws and language to fit the illegals coming over here. Okay, and there's just so much I have to say that's already been said, and probably more things that need to be addressed. Basically,